Hey, ESPN, I'm Jack.
And I'm Miles from the Daily Zeitgeist, a daily comedic news podcast that answers the question,
what if Stephen A. Smith spoke at a normal volume and his opinions were based on fact and not completely insane? This probably isn't the best way to describe this.
No, you just negated the two things Stephen A. Smith is known for.
Okay, what if The Daily Show was hosted by us?
Yes, but who is us?
Okay, I'm Jack. I'm the co-founder of Crack.com.
And I'm Miles. I love soccer and get very nervous when I'm pulled over by the police.
He's also a former lobbyist who quit politics for comedy.
Yeah. Well, look, we covered news, the president, pop culture, and we're both very big sports fans.
I'm actually named after my grandfather, legendary NBA coach and ESPN alum Dr. Jack Ramsey.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm named after Miles Davis, the legendary heroin addict who is not my grandfather.
So search the Daily Zeitgeist. If you don't know how to spell zeitgeist, like most of us, just type in Daily Z. It'll figure it out for you. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are given away for free.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood. Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, dog?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic, and we're putting it on wax.
We're Jalen and Jacoby. What do we do?
Give the people what they want.
So we just finished recording our hour television show. Make sure you tune in every day on ESPN2 at 2 p.m. You can watch Jalen and Jacoby. But that also means that we will never leave our podcast listeners without some exclusive content to step to. One thing I know about you, Jalen Rose, is even without preparing as much as I do for the show, you've got bars. And today in the A block, you made a comparison with LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. You compared them to who?
Reasonable Doubt album just popped up into my brain. And when I think about LeBron James leaving Miami to go to Cleveland, a lot of what he was doing was saying, I have a better chance of winning championships with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love than I do with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh.
Of course.
And since Kyrie Irving, the number one pick, struggled with injury, and obviously a roster once LeBron James left isn't a true measurement of if he can lead a team because they were in shambles.
Yeah, it was Ilgauskas and Varejao. It was, it was Deion Waiters. It was a mess.
No doubt about it. So LeBron definitely takes on the big brother role. And in that big brother role, there's going to be tension sometimes. They both like to isolate. LeBron James is the guy most of the game. Kyrie's the closer. LeBron's going to get all of the credit and the extra benefits from the public and probably from the organization. And Kyrie's looking around like, what about me? Now all of a sudden he goes to the front office. He requests a trade. LeBron James disappointed. And on his Jay-Z, Memphis Bleak, he like, I helped Shorty blow out like Afro Sheen. Now he don't want to run with me no more? It ain't that he don't want to play with an all-star player. It ain't that he don't want to win. It's that he don't want to run with me anymore. I know that was some big-time news for LeBron James to hear, but you got to charge it to the game.
So here are a couple things I want to say. If you're Kyrie Irving and you don't want to play with LeBron James, can't you just stay in Cleveland and watch LeBron James leave and then you get exactly what you want?
No, because he's going to be there this year. And when I say I don't want to play with him, I mean like last year was the last season.
Yeah, it's like I really don't want to play with LeBron James.
And I got another parallel. The Black Mamba is his mentor. And Kyrie Irving, during the playoffs, alluded to the fact that it would be nice to have my own squad. Mm-hmm. I do fantasize about this a lot. I'm ready for the challenge. And I saw Kobe and Shaq dynamic when it got fractured, played against them. And ultimately, the organization decided, and rightfully so at that point of their careers, to keep Kobe. And so, as Shaq did an exit, this kind of works in reverse. Kyrie saying, I want to leave first. This is his hometown team. This is his backyard. He wanted to deliver something to the land. He's going to get the credit for bringing it back. Let me bounce. As a matter of fact, I give you a list of 5 teams.
One thing I find interesting about this is we always look at LeBron James. We always give him the action verb. Like even when the coach gets fired, LeBron James did it. LeBron James decided to move from Cleveland to Miami and Miami back to Cleveland. LeBron James, we always call him like he's playing chess and everyone else playing checkers. Kyrie Irving saw all this. He's been listening to this for years, and he was like, "Okay, LeBron, well, guess what? I can make moves too. I can upset the apple cart too. You know what? I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to be a victim to whatever LeBron James does. Whatever LeBron James moves, I'm not going to sit and ride that wake of the LeBron James boat. I'm going to be out and make my own decisions." And you know what, LeBron James, he has to be upset about this. This is not what LeBron James' plan was for this season. His plan for this season was make one more go at it with the Cavs and then find myself a super team landing spot somewhere else. And now he finds himself having to deal with all of this. You've got a brand new GM in Altman here at the Cavs. Dan Gilbert's a notoriously sort of like owner who can be a little emotional at times. And let me propose this to you. If they trade Kyrie and they get back a package of hand-picked players that LeBron James thinks give him a good run at a championship in a weak Eastern Conference, could this actually lead to LeBron James staying in Cleveland?
This is why you listen to Jalen and Jacoby. So what I'm about to say, you can now go run with this at work, when you're talking about sports in your inner circles. Because for those that's been listening to this program for the last 6 years, not only did we discuss the level of fracture in that relationship, we even put out some players that they can move Kyrie for. You remember those discussions? Me talking about, Eric Bledsoe. LeBron James workout videos in the summer with little bro Eric Bledsoe. Yeah. And we like, oh, okay. They might be planting a seed there to create a harvest. Wait a minute. Who just got the front office job as an executive assistant to the GM? Oh,
James Jones. Oh, that's interesting.
So now all of a sudden the Cleveland Cavaliers can easily get on the telephone with the Phoenix Suns, right? And we putting it on wax. How about that?
But you'd have to get much more back than Eric Bledsoe if you are the Cleveland Cavaliers. But I also kind of feel like if you're LeBron and you've got 1 foot out of the door in Cleveland anyway, does it really matter? You know what I mean? Like, is he really so concerned? Him saying, I'm just going to let the front office deal with this, do you think he really means that? I'm just going to, you know what? It's not my job to make roster decisions or personnel decisions. I'm going to let the front office deal with that. Do you believe that?
No.
No, me neither. Yeah, I don't believe in that at all. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to deal with it. I'm going to talk to Rich Paul, and Rich Paul's going to deal with it. That's how it works. He's like, I'm not going to make a single phone call about this. I'm not going to reach out to the front office. I'm not going to even let them influence this decision whatsoever. I'm just going to have my man do that.
Exactly. You know what this reminds me of? Power. Ghost is free. He allowed Proctor to deal with it. Proctor brought in the guy that got him off, and Ghost is coming home.
Spoiler alert. A little too late. You want to hear what happened on Game of Thrones?
No.
Interesting. We also have this. Jeremy Lin had this to say about the upcoming season.
Keep it moving.
With the Nets. Quote,
oh, that ain't this segment.
We're making the playoffs. I don't care what anybody else says.
That should count as a failed drug test.
That should count as a positive. Like, they're not even trying to make the playoffs. Like, they're actively trying not to make the playoffs, even though they don't have a pick.
Everyone shows up at the end of September, beginning of October. Adam Silver should just send him a letter and be like, you got one positive. You don't even have to worry about going into the bathroom.
Don't even bother with that. So let's imagine that the Cleveland Cavaliers, they don't get a great trade partner, that Kyrie has devalued himself enough that they do not have a happy deal that they can get even equal or slightly lesser value back for Kyrie. And this Cavaliers team, as constructed right now, enters the season and intends to play out the season as constructed. Are they still your favorite to win the Eastern Conference?
As long as they have LeBron, Kyrie, and Love, they're my favorite.
Yeah. Me too.
If they have two of the three, not necessarily. You can't overlook what the Boston Celtics did this offseason and what they still may be able to do to add someone up front with all of the assets that they've acquired. It's going to be interesting to see. And also, So many people get caught up in necessarily trying to find a quote-unquote trade partner. In the NBA, there are three-way trades. There are multiple players involved. So don't just look at it like who Minnesota has to give up to get Kyrie. There are going to be multiple teams involved when you're trying to move players of not only his talent level, but clearly of his salary.
One thing I think will be interesting is if it plays out this way and then Kyrie is still in the Cavaliers as we get close to the All-Star break with the new trade deadline, it'll be interesting to see if the Celtics and the Cavaliers are going after the same players in order to strengthen themselves for a stretch run in the Eastern Conference. And you look at the Celtics saying, we can give you a bunch of picks, we can give you a bunch of great young potential talent, and the Cavs saying, we can give you a bona fide star, and them sort of like bidding against each other to get somebody like a Boogie Cousins.
How about this? Here's another theory. Isaiah Thomas hasn't signed a new contract in Boston yet.
Oh, that's interesting. They're going to have to pay him a max.
If you're the Cavs, you're on the phone with Boston.
That's the thing, but why? People say that, right? And I've heard this before, but why would you make a trade with your direct competition? Like, why would you do that? Why would you take the team? And there's a pretty big gap between the Celtics and the Cavs and what you look at in the Eastern Conference next, which will probably be the Wizards and the Raptors. There's a pretty big gap between those teams. Why would they make a deal with each other? It seems to me like the Yankees and the Red Sox making a deal.
There have been plenty of players to play for both the Yankees and the Red Sox.
But they don't make deals. They don't make deals. Those are free agents.
So here's the more important point is, of course, you don't want to strengthen your number one opponent, but however, you don't want to be so spiteful that you don't get the right deal. And Isaiah Thomas almost averaged 30 points last year. And as I mentioned, has not signed his long-term deal just yet with the Boston Celtics. So when you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, everything has to be in play. I'm just throwing some theories out there because here's what's going to happen. You're going to stop listening to this podcast and wait for the next one, and you're going to pick up the remote control, and at the bottom of the ticker, you're going to hear all of the theories I just thrown out. It's just that I'm not going to give up my sources.
Here's the thing, though, if you're Kyrie Irving. You want to have your own squad. You want to be the quote-unquote focal point. There are no single-star championship teams in the NBA. But in order to win in this league, in order to even make the finals, why would you want to be on a team with only one star?
I'm not going to justify the level of thinking, but what I will say is he's picked out some squads that had other star players. Kawhi Leonard plays on the Spurs. Yep. That was one of the squads that he mentioned that he'd go play for.
Exactly. He wouldn't be the focal point on the Spurs.
No. However, what really comes to light is that he doesn't want to be in LeBron James' shadow anymore. No. That's truly the bottom line. This is where I disappoint myself. I think back to high school. I had a chance to learn Spanish, and I was so ignorant and so immature, sitting in the back of the class saying, "Who wants to learn Spanish? I ain't never going to Spain." It makes me wish I could tell you this in another language. He does not want to play with LeBron James anymore.
No. I understand that. And I also understand that there's a feeling that perhaps LeBron James and LeBron James's camp are the way that we know about all of this. Do you believe that the way us, the media, the way our colleagues got this information, then disseminated it, was someone affiliated with LeBron James?
Possibly, but it's irrelevant because once you start speaking to individuals that are related to front offices and basketball teams and you're talking about being traded, when they pick up the telephone and they engage somebody else, at that point, everybody knows. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of how this works. You're not going to say that you want to be traded to 5 teams and think that it's all going to happen off wax. Like, people are going to talk about it because it's going to be a major undertaking for each of the squads involved.
So here's one thing that no one's really talking about. All right, I get it. Kyrie Irving no longer wants to play in LeBron's shadow. I totally understand that. I no longer want to do television in Jalen Rose's shadow. I'm demanding a trade from our producers every single day. I totally get that, right? But LeBron is basically already said he's going to leave. Like, everybody believes LeBron's going to leave after 1 year. So if Kyrie doesn't want to play in LeBron's shadow, why isn't he just stay in Cleveland and watch LeBron leave?
It seems almost like he wants to pull the rug from underneath LeBron. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, you guys feel like this guy got it going on so much in his hometown, bringing back championships, and everybody's worried about what he's going to do, let's see how he fares with me not around. That's kind of how I'm taking it.
That's how I'm taking it, too. It's almost like everyone credits LeBron James with the front office moves. And when David Black gets fired, everyone looks at LeBron James and said, oh, LeBron James was the one who really fired him. And LeBron James gets all of the credit during the parade. And LeBron James brought the title back to Cleveland. And now there are reports that Kyrie felt this way even after the championship game. It definitely feels like he's a little salty that LeBron gets all of the credit when you look at the box scores and you watch the games, Kyrie Irving does a lot of the hard work on the basketball floor but doesn't get the credit after the floor. But it goes back to me, this Pat Riley disease of me thing. Like Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, both of you have something great going on. You went to the finals 3 straight times. You are, in my mind, the favorite to go back to the NBA finals again, but that's not good enough for you. You have to do it on your own terms. Am I just being a fan and saying that that's broken logic?
Yes, you are, because you talk about doing this fine program with me, and we're on 6 years, but yet I got the remote control in my hand. Jacoby on Sports Nation. Jacoby on Sports Center. Jacoby's still doing his thing. The exact same thing with Kyrie Irving. It's like, I put in my work here, but more importantly for Kyrie, the thing that can't get overlooked, he is the closer. So when the chips are down, LeBron James is drawing up a play. Tyronn Lue is drawing up a play to give it to Kyrie. So there is some value in that. But however, in 61 postseason minutes without LeBron James on the floor and Kyrie Irving the Cavs got outscored by 30 points. So like you said, sometimes be careful what you ask for. But I don't think Kyrie Irving is going to fall into the bleak category, because in a point guard-driven league where you see so many guys who lead their team in scoring as well as assists and still are able to have playoff glory, I think he has the level of talent that can lead a basketball team and or be a co-star.
I mean, for all the triple-doubles that LeBron had in this year's finals, and for all the big shots that Durant had, and for everything that Steph Curry brought, I would have to say that some of the best, I would say the best individual performance I saw in this finals were from Kyrie Irving. And I feel like after you lose the finals and you're Kyrie Irving, you're like, I put it down out here. Perhaps I am being held back by LeBron James. They do have an interesting offense in Cleveland where they're like, we have 2 of the best ISO players in the game, and they're going to kind of trade off when they're going to go ISO. And I feel like Kyrie Irving is saying, you know what I want to do? I want to be the ball-dominant ISO player in an offense where we just put the ball in my hands and I create and score. That sounds great, but it's not going to play out the way you think it will, Kyrie. You're not going to be Memphis Bleak, but I do not think that you are going to drag the Knicks into championship contention alone. So let's just say we all know he demanded a trade. We all know the potential teams that he could go to. Jalen Rose, how is this going to play out? There's a scenario where the Cavs will say, you know what? I understand you want to trade and we keep him. There's a scenario where they say, all right, let's get back a superstar. There's also a scenario where they say, we got LeBron James. He's probably going to leave. So let's cash in Kyrie Irving for some young players and get rid of some contracts and try to build for the future. How do you see this playing out?
First, if you're the Cavs, you can't panic or rush because he's under contract for 2 more seasons. LeBron James is under contract 1 more season, and he already acknowledged that he's not going to waive his no-trade clause this year for any team. So, like in poker, you just stand pat for a minute. You see if a team is going to give you an outstanding offer. Are the Pelicans willing to give you an Anthony Davis? Not going to be able to do it, but you wait for it. And you got to also look at the landscape of the league. There are not too many all-star level players that are available to be moved. That's the other thing you got to look for. All of these trade scenarios sound great, but when you look at quality teams right now, which one of those teams do you feel like, or a couple of those teams, are going to part with probably their best player, who was an all-star this year, to give you Kyrie Irving? So that limits the number of people you can get in return, especially when people like Paul George and Jimmy Butler just traded teams. What's going to happen with Boogie Cousins? He hasn't signed a long-term contract. But in a point guard-driven league, again, I disagree with you. Kyrie Irving does have what it takes to lead a playoff team. I don't know if it's to championship glory because you need multiple all-stars, But I think he has what it takes. He has the goods.
Absolutely. My favorite part about your proposal is there's one team that clearly has an all-star caliber player that wants to move him to the Cavs, and that is the New York Knicks moving Carmelo. And once Carmelo heard this, he's like, no. I want the Rockets. He's like, no, guys. No. I know Kyrie wants to trade, but I know I said the Cavs, but I didn't put pen to paper. I want to be on the Rockets because I know what's going on in Cleveland. I do not want to be a part of it.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Yes, Kyrie Irving demanded a trade from the Cleveland Cavaliers. We don't know whether or not they will, acquiesce to his request, but we do know this. We're not going to talk about it for the entire hour here today on Jalen Jacoby because other things were happening in the world of sports like this. There's been reports from our colleague, Woj. Woj is reporting that ever since day one, the Lakers' new front office of Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka have been solely focused on bringing in LeBron James and Paul George. Do you think this is the right approach, and do you think they will accomplish it?
Of course. Shoot for the moon. If not, you fall amongst the stars. But the problem with that theory is this. The Indiana Pacers and Oklahoma City Thunder, they weren't caring about that philosophy. And now all of a sudden, he's teamed up to play with Russell Westbrook, two California kids that have thrived in small markets in their own right. One just won the MVP, and another's going to have a 5-year potential deal with OKC that he can sign and retain his bird rights. I don't see those players breaking up. So therefore, I like the theory of bringing PG to LA, especially when he already came out on wax saying that he would like to do that before he was traded. LeBron James, I've already came out and said I feel like this is going to be his last year in Cleveland before it became headline news in the ticker. Did our show get credit for that? Another subject for another day. But with that being said, of course you line up the best way you can in order to get LeBron James, especially when you see a situation clearly is fractured right now in Cleveland.
The situation in Cleveland is so fractured that no one even noticed over the weekend that one of the best players in the NBA just signed an extension. John Wall signed a 4-year, $170 million extension to stay with the Washington Wizards. He signed it a little bit earlier than you and I both expected him to. If he played out this season, he could be potential for an even bigger contract if he made the All-NBA team. Why do you think John Wall secured this now?
It's one of those things when you're playing blackjack and the dealer's showing a 5, and you're showing a 3. You're like, I could hit it. It's likely that I'll bust, but I want to get close enough to feel like I'm giving myself a chance to win, or I'd rather just allow the dealer just to bust and not get everybody at the table mad at me for taking a hit. John Wall, why double down? Why take a hit when you got 173 staring at you over the next 4 years? Where do I sign? I ain't worried about a super max. I ain't worried about all NBA that the media votes on. Let me get this check right now.
Jalen Rose, I had to hit the brakes on you. I've played blackjack with you. You are a crazy blackjack player. You follow no rules. I've seen so many people just run away from the table, so mad at Jalen Rose, tweeting you immediately because you do the craziest things when you play blackjack. Don't ever use blackjack logic as an explanation for anything on this program ever. The dealer can show a 10 and you've got a 2 and you won't hit it. You're like, look, I don't want to bust. They could bust. There could be a 5 under there. You do the craziest things when you play blackjack. Don't ever do that again to me, please. You've made so many people angry at you at a blackjack table. I've seen them lose their money and storm off so mad at Jalen Rose, burning all of their Jalen Rose jerseys. Shout out to John Wall. Here's the thing. When you get offered $170 million, you just take it. You know what I mean? No matter what it is. It's like you just take it. It's like, what do you need? Like helping my kids in my left arm? Like, whatever. 170, I'll get a new arm. It'll be robot. I'll adopt some kids. It'll be great. Like, whatever it is. And I totally understand because you can get injured. Things can happen. Maybe you're not guaranteed to make the All-NBA. He likes Washington. He just locked it up. It's $170 million. I totally understand it. Next, LeVar Ball's back in the news. This time, he was at an AAU tournament. His team was playing. They were up by 9 at the end of the game. He got a technical from the referee, and then he continued to take his entire team off of the floor. What? and basically forfeited the W. What do you think about this latest move from LeVar?
Sends a poor message to the young people that you're leading. It's also something that when it takes place and you're the adult, you'll feel like you're getting revenge on the ref. You're getting revenge on the league. Everybody's here to watch me. I'm the big name that's leading these young people. But ultimately what you're doing is being a sore loser, and it sends a message to the young people that if things don't go their way, then they can quit. But more importantly, that they can continue to berate an official. At some point, being an athlete, the refs, every time they blow the whistle, you got to understand this. The team that gets the call, they're happy. The team that the whistle goes against, they're unhappy. That's just an absolute fact. You've never seen somebody be like, you know what, like reg ball, that was a weak call. Now, you know what, I don't want to shoot the free throws. I'm good. Y'all can have the ball. It don't work like that. And when you disagree with the official, the way not to get back at them is to quit. I just don't like that at all.
Next, Jordan Spieth had a dramatic win at the British Open. Young man just won the British Open. He's walking into the clubhouse to sign his scorecard and do whatever they do in the clubhouse. As he's walking by his caddy that just helped him win a major tournament, he doesn't shake his hand. He doesn't give him a high five. He gives him what's known, I'm going to call a cup check, which is a quick punch to the male undercarriage. Jalen Rose, are you down with the cup check?
I am not down in any way, shape, or form. The Clemson collegiate football team was doing something of this manner to the opponents. The Cubs, during their World Series run, was doing something affectionately known as the junk bump. These are the type of things that I don't condone, and I hope that we never have to discuss again. And lastly, that has to hurt.
Well, you just guaranteed yourself a future cup check from David Jacoby. Next, Danny Ainge was playing a little pickup basketball in his driveway, a 9-foot hoop. A lot of family was around. And then his son, Crew, just bully balled him. Drives to the lane like Shaquille O'Neal, pushes him out of the way, and dunks all over his head. If you're Danny Ainge, are you more upset or proud that your son dunked all over you?
I'm proud.
Me too. I can't wait till my son dunks on me.
Here's the thing, though. The way you came at me, you better be going at them cats like that in college.
Yes.
I'm going to be at the game.
Yes, because Danny Ainge plays physical defense in his old age. I don't remember this Danny Ainge on the Celtics. He was using his body trying to keep Crew from the basket. Crew knew it was coming, though. When you look at the footage, Crew did match with him off. Protected the ball with his left hand, matched the body move with his right hand. They definitely had experience. They had each other's scouting report on that one. Great dunk from Crew. I'm a big Crew fan now.
Shout out.
Now, we all see on Instagram every NBA player. They don't post them eating meals. They don't post themselves, just watching Power and Game of Thrones. They post themselves working out. Especially LeBron James with the tights and the shirt off, doing crazy workouts, getting ready for next season. Well, LeBron isn't the only one that posts on Instagram. Dirk Nowitzki also posted his summer workout to get ready for the season. Dirk Nowitzki is just casually driving a cruiser bike through a field of wildflowers. Jalen Rose, during your career, were your summer workouts more like LeBron's or more like Dirk's?
Definitely more like Dirk's.
Yeah.
The guy that's having more fun, that's whose trek I want to follow. And by the way, they met each other in the NBA Finals before, and who won?
Dirk won. Dirk won. I remember that. Remember Dwayne Wade and LeBron doing the fake coughs in the tunnel when they were up in the series? Look how that played out.
But I also give credit to today's athlete. Back in the day, what athletes did, I consider working out. Players today, they train 24/7, 365 for the most part.
Jalen Rose, I just want to let the people know that if you ever are at a blackjack table and you see Jalen Rose there, he always sits at third base on the end. If you ever think to yourself, oh, there's Jalen Rose, he's one of my favorite personalities, I love that show he does with that white guy, he was a great player, let me just enjoy myself by playing some blackjack at that table with him. My advice to you, anyone who's ever thought this, run. Don't just leave that table, leave the casino, stay as far away from Jalen Rose as a blackjack table as you can. He has no idea how to play play the game.
Can you tell them why I sit in the third chair?
You sit in the third chair so you can ruin the hand for everybody else in front of you, and you feel like whatever decision you make there is going to change the card that the dealer has under there. You are an insane person when it comes to blackjack and pretty much all other aspects of your life, and that's why I love you. Kyrie Irving has requested a trade from the Cleveland Cavaliers front office. We've all had some time to think about this. It happened on Friday afternoon. We've all spent the weekend reading everybody's thing about it and how it happened and dissecting it. And now that we've had a little space, we've got a little distance, we've been able to really digest this information. How do you think it's going to play out? Like, will they actually trade Kyrie Irving? And if they do, where would they trade him to?
Ultimately, when a player says that he doesn't want to participate playing in your uniform anymore, and he has the level of talent that Kyrie Irving has, you have to move him.
Really?
Because you can't build around him because nobody's going to want to come play with him because they know he doesn't want to be there. So because of that dynamic, while you still have LeBron James, who has a full no-trade clause, the best case scenario would be to get some level of value clearly in return for a dynamic player and hope to do it, I hate to say it, before the start of the season.
Wow. Do you think it's on the table that Kyrie Irving will not start the season in a Cleveland Cavaliers jersey?
Oh, it's on the table. Once he comes out and he gives you a list of 5 teams he want to get traded to, and here's the problem with that. A team like the Knicks is like, I want to go to New York, play in a large market, and lead a basketball team and turn their franchise into something that they haven't been in a really long time. Minnesota, they doing something real special, trying to go run with Wiggins and Towns and Butler. Miami, they have the championship glory already. The Mafia, I say that affectionately, with Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra. You've seen them build squads. And you know what else? They're not fans of LeBron James and how he left either. And so we got to kind of kinship eye to eye with that one. And then lastly, of course, you got to say the Spurs. Who doesn't want to go run with Kawhi and/or Pop? Because they've been there, done that. So while it may seem like his wish list is all over the place, ultimately, guess where he's going to go? Where the Cavs trade him.
I think it's one thing that's really important to be said about all of this is he's on contract for 2 more years because he requested a trade and because he has certain teams that he would prefer to go to. The Cleveland Cavaliers are not beholden to grant his request, trade him to a team that he wants to be traded to, or trade him at all. So the Cavs are like, listen, I understand what you want. That's great. I'm really glad you're being open and communicating with me. But ultimately, what I want is what matters because you signed a contract to play in our uniform. But let's start gaming this out. Okay. He doesn't want to be in LeBron's shadow. He wants to be the focal point. Why would you list the Spurs when you would then be in the shadow of Kawhi Leonard?
There's a different level of respectful maintenance that comes with playing with LeBron James. Because every time something happens in Cleveland, whether the coach is fired, whether someone is traded, whether J.R. Smith or Tristan Thompson gets a contract, everything revolves around us saying LeBron had his hand in it.
Yep.
It doesn't happen that way in San Antonio.
No.
There's a clear distinction of Kawhi's the superstar player, but the decisions are going to be made by the front office, and the coaching clearly going to be done by Greg Popovich. So there is a level of distinction there. And also, I want to make sure I correct something you said. It's not about being the focal point. It's about not playing with LeBron James. Let everybody own what this is. This isn't Kyrie saying, I don't want to play with other all-star players. This isn't Kyrie saying, I don't want to win. This isn't him saying that I don't want to lead a team. It's him saying, I don't want to play with LeBron anymore. And it just so happens he plays in Cleveland.
It is interesting because of all these teams, it seems like he would have another all-star level player on his team if he went to all of them. But let's keep going through the list. You have the New York Knicks. Now, this I find interesting because the obvious trade here would be Carmelo for Kyrie, Carmelo and a piece for Kyrie. We get it. But Carmelo also has a no-trade clause. And reports have come out that Carmelo is focused on going to Houston. He doesn't want to waive his no-trade clause and then go to Cleveland and play with LeBron James. Why do you think that is?
Because for a lot of minutes of a basketball game, they play the same position. And guess what? I'm going to the same Hall of Fame that he's going into.
And we're also going into the same free agency together, too.
Correct. And yes, he's going to be in the VIP level of the Hall of Fame, but we're still going to be in the same building. So playing in his shadow in the same position, not going to be able to do it. I know it sounds good on paper to say Carmelo and LeBron, but Carmelo, while a capable three-point shooter, is not necessarily the spot-up type of player that LeBron thrives off creating and getting shots for. Kyle Korver, Kevin Love has developed into that type of player. Channing Frye has developed into that type of player. And so because of that, he needs the floor spread. Sometimes Carmelo Anthony, and rightfully so, when you're a 20, 25-point scorer per game, he get that thing on the wing and turn to Adrian Dantley. Start massaging it a little bit, start reading what, this got David Stern's name on it. This should have Adam Silver's name on this thing. And so LeBron is like, yeah, that's my dude. Of course, I would love him to come run with me. But here's the thing. Carmelo wouldn't start if they had Kevin Love.
Ooh, interesting. And then we have this. We have the Timberwolves, which obviously just revamped their roster. They look good. They look like they're almost a shoo-in for the playoffs in Western Conference. They haven't been in the playoffs in 13 years. And you start looking at what a potential trade for Kyrie would look like, and one name comes to mind, almost poetically, a former number one pick of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Andrew Wiggins. Could you see something like that getting done?
I don't do that if I'm Minnesota.
Really?
No, not at all. Because here's why. In order to win in this league, of course it's a point guard-driven league. You see many guards leading their team in points and shot attempts and assists, truly dominating the basketball as the primary ball handler. And again, I know this has gotten me in trouble in the past, but positions were created so a novice could follow the game. Just because you're a power forward, that don't mean you're walking around with muscles popping out of everywhere. Just because you're a shooting guard, that don't mean you can spot up and knock down the three consistently. With that being said, you have to have people that can guard LeBron, Kawhi, and KD. Wiggins, while he is a 20-point scorer, is a developing defensive player, a terrific young athlete, and you need players at that position to ultimately take you to the next level, in my opinion.
Finally, I have a very simple question. Do you really think Kyrie Irving believes the earth is flat?
No, but that was the same frame of reference you have to go into it when you feel like you don't want to play with LeBron no more. Like the earth is flat, I ain't trying to run with LeBron. Whatever. Put it on me.
Who knows? Like the Kyrie is now set the bar so high, it's like he can say anything, and we have to take it as fact.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Jalen, it's not a yes or no world. It's not a black or white world. We explore all of the gray areas in this world in a segment called 0 to 100.
Shout out.
Jalen Rose, while everyone was talking about Kyrie Irving and LeBron James and the tension in that relationship and how this is going to completely upend the Cavaliers franchise, another thing happened this weekend regarding LeBron James that is very interesting that no one is talking about, that you will only get here on Jalen Jacoby. LeBron's mother, Gloria James, is dating a gentleman by the name of Lambo. And Lambo and LeBron and Gloria, they've all been vacationing together. They're all part of the family. And it's all sort of been a copacetic, happy thing for quite some time. Well, Lambo put out a video over the weekend. This video seemed, if you read between the lines, to threaten to expose family secrets, salacious details of LeBron James's life. As everything is happening with Kyrie Irving and the Cleveland Cavaliers, 0 to 100, how concerned do you think LeBron James is about Lambo?
23%.
Interesting.
Here's why. Because when you allow people into your inner circle, of course they're going to hear things and see things that you probably wouldn't do for public consumption. That's why it's called happening in private. And obviously when that person's in a relationship with your mom, as a fellow mama's boy, I know how that in itself creates its own dynamic. But LeBron James has always handled himself with pristine class and maturity. And so whatever the threat is, it won't be something that I think is going to be so major that LeBron James will be affected by it in any way, shape, or form.
I think that's a very fair response, and I agree with you for the most part. But there's a part of me that just feels for LeBron. Like, after all of this happens with Kyrie Irving, and he's got to deal with the whole media swirl, he's just trying to chill, listen to Meek Mill's album, but he's got to deal with this Kyrie thing now, and then this, and then he's just got to be like, you, dude, like now, like you chose this weekend, Lambo, like that's what you're doing right now, LeBron.
Here's what you can do while you're listening to that Meek Mill. Also listen to that Sugar Free. Might help him get through this.
Maybe it will.
Shout out.
Conor McGregor continued to promote his fight with Floyd Mayweather. This time he did so by wearing a Warriors jersey with the number 23 on it. Draymond Green thought that he was wearing a Draymond Green jersey and said, Conor McGregor, we're not rocking with you, we're with Floyd. But what he was doing was wearing a C.J. Watson jersey. And everybody that's followed Floyd Mayweather's career and the peaks and the valleys knows exactly why he was wearing a C.J. Watson jersey. You know my philosophy. You can be mean if you're funny. 0 to 100. Was Conor McGregor being funny?
3. Not funny at all.
Yeah.
Especially if you C.J. Watson. Like, how did I get into this? Yeah. Number one. 2, I just think the premise of what he hoped to get accomplished as a punchline was off. Mm-hmm. So was the goal to purposely wear the 23 jersey to troll fellow Michigander of Floyd, Draymond Green, to get the response that he got? I can't truly give an explanation why that would be something for his domain. So I'm not rocking with it. And I agree with how Draymond responded. I agree with how Floyd responded because I'm in the same camp.
I absolutely loved watching my man Clint Dempsey score a goal and assist a goal from Josie Altidore on Saturday night in the Gold Cup semifinals. And then Jamaica upsets Mexico on Sunday night, setting up a USA-Jamaica finals on Wednesday night. It's going to be very tense in the Jacoby household as my wife is Jamaican. 0 to 100, how likely is it that you'll be watching the Gold Cup final on Wednesday night?
I will be watching. And before it comes on, I'm going to have to watch the movie Belly. Hear Ox say Jamaica's good. Jamaica's very good.
We should just watch the movie Belly every day before we get out of bed. That's what I need to make my own personal goal. 0 to 100. How much of LeBron James listening to Meek Mill's Heavy Heart with some very interesting lyrics was aimed at Kyrie Irving?
85%. Because LeBron is the king of subliminals. Yep. And when he puts things out there, it's well thought of. And so it's one thing when he's training and he has the tunes pumping and he got the head nod going. By the way, he need to petition the NBA so he can wear a do-rag during games. That's another subject for another day. Mm-hmm. But the lyrics, it almost reminded me of back in the day before ringtones. Gather around, youngsters. About to hear a story. When you would fix your tape to play exactly what you wanted your voicemail to sound like, you had to take a lot of time and sweat equity to get the right lyrics, the right voice, the right hook. That's exactly what LeBron did before he did that post. I bet he did that 15 times.
That was definitely, it was definitely not the first take. I had to, when I watched it, I was like, you know what, LeBron, I know you did that 5 times just to get that one part of that Meek Mill song into your IG post. And finally, 0 to 100. How disappointing was it that Michael Phelps didn't race a real shark? Like, come on, Michael Phelps. Come on now. You got to race a shark.
I'm 98% disappointed. Like, seriously, computer generated?
I am 100% disappointed. I didn't expect him to be in open water with a hungry shark in a pool, but I did expect there to be some sort of, like, gate between them, or we're going to let the shark go first, and then Michael goes second, and we'll superimpose them next to each other. Like, he was racing against a computer-generated shark. You guys started promoting this a month ago, and I'm thinking Michael Phelps is going to race a shark, and he's not even racing anything. He's just going for a swim in the ocean? Come on. Remember what we always say. Happiness is a function of expectations. And I expected there to at least be a 10% chance that I could watch Michael Phelps get eaten by a great white shark. And that was not the case. Come on, Discovery Channel. Jalen Rose, we have a very simple motto and foundational philosophy. It's called Give the People What They Want.
You got to give the people time. Give the people what they want.
Part of giving the people what they want is listening to the people and taking their questions. We take their questions via our Twitter feed. You can hit us up at Jalen and Jacoby. We also go into our subreddit. That is on reddit.com/r/Jalen and Jacoby. And you can leave us voicemails. You can call us at 985-80-JALEN. Leave us a voicemail, and we play it on the show, just like this.
Guys, are the Timberwolves for real?
That's your man. That's your man.
We once got a call that just simply said, "Are the Clippers for real?" We found it hilarious, and we burned it into the ground for the next year. Now, the question is, are the Timberwolves for real? And I have to say, yeah, I think so. I think they are. I think the Timberwolves are for real. Your thoughts, Mr. Rose?
They are for real. They have one of the top bigs in the game in Karl Anthony Towns.
Mm-hmm.
They have a current all-star in Jimmy Butler.
Mm-hmm.
They have an emerging all-star in Andrew Wiggins.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that they added Jamal Crawford this offseason.
And then you
added
got
Teague in the backcourt.
And then you got Taj Gibson to do all of the dirty work that those other people won't do. It is constructed as a team now where you're like, oh, I understand what every person's role is on this team. And I believe in Tom Thibodeau, not just because he was my coach at Harvard basketball camp about 25 years ago, but also because he brought a championship to the Boston Celtics. He works hard. He's a defense-focused mind, which I always appreciate in the head coaching job in the NBA. So to answer your question, yes, the Timberwolves are for real. Are they going to win the Western Conference? No. Could they host a playoff series? Maybe. Next, we're going to our Twitter feed. This is from Jelani. Soft move or boss move? Making a move before a move makes you. Talking about Kyrie Irving striking first.
Boss move. It's almost like back in the day when you huffing and puffing with somebody, like, knock this off my shoulder, and then they just punch you like 3 times in the face.
Okay.
You gotta strike first. And so if you Kyrie Irving, it's like, okay, LeBron's the hometown king, the chosen one. He delivered one to the land. He got all of that. But I'm about to do like Dr. Dre when it was time to leave Death Row. Y'all can have all of it. I'm out.
Yeah, he's like, you can keep everything, so whatever you need. It's like, look, he signed an extension, and then right when he was done signing it, here comes LeBron. Okay, well, I didn't make that decision. And then what should we do with Tristan Thompson? LeBron says you got to sign him. What should we do with J.R. Smith? LeBron says you got to sign him. What should we do with David Blatt? LeBron says he's got to go. And I think Kyrie Irving's looking around and being like, it just seems like a lot of these decisions that affect my career have been made by LeBron James. Maybe I need to take back control and demand a trade. Next, we have this from our subreddit. This is from D. Jones. He wants to know, with all the point guards taken so early in this year's draft and what we know about how draft classes produce talent, who of these players do Jalen and Jacoby think will most likely not live up to their expectations relative to their draft position? One thing about the two of us is I'm a lot more negative than Jalen Rose is, especially when it comes to evaluating young basketball players. And I'm negative Jacoby. And negative Jacoby is perfectly suited to answer this question. And I have a very simple answer based by very flawed logic. I think that Frank Ntilikina will not live up to his expectations. And I base this not because I flew to Europe and watched him play a bunch of times or spent hours and hours looking at his game tape. I feel that way because he got drafted by the New York Knicks, and the New York Knicks cannot have nice things. They just can't have nice things. And it will not be Kristaps Porzingis 2.0, where this guy comes out of nowhere that everyone's kind of looked at sideways when they drafted him and turned into the future of the NBA. I am concerned about Frank Ntilikina's long-term NBA career. Your thoughts, Mr. Rose?
You guys have Scott Perry and Steve Mills in tow. The only African-American GM and president combination we have going in the NBA. Therefore, I think you guys will be just fine.
Okay.
Finally, in New York City.
Finally, we're going to open up our voicemail. Again, if you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail, and we'll play it on the show just like this.
Yo, Jalen and Jacoby, what up, though? This Joey out here in Riverside, California. Quick question. I love stealing people's swag sometimes, so what's you guys' top 2 colognes of all time? Please, I'm truly out here to swag jack everything I can. So please hit me back. Give the person what he wants.
Being from the Midwest, I appreciate different accents across the country, and I love his West Coast accent. Gucci and Creed are my answers.
You know what mine is? Whatever the bathroom attendant has for $1 in the bathroom. We can't get too many voicemails in the television show, so we're going to put them here. So don't forget to call 985-80-JALEN. Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it either on the television show or the podcast, just like this.
What's going on, guys? This is Blake. And I saw on ESPN.com that Des Bryant reported late to the first day of training camp after having or participating in a barbecue the night before. Based on what you guys were talking about, are you sure that Des Bryant wasn't getting turned up at a cookout instead of a barbecue? That's probably what I think. Thanks, guys. Keep giving people what they want.
Shout to Blake.
Shout out.
Here's the thing. I'm going to guess that Blake knows that Des Bryant was at a cookout the day before because Des Bryant posted that on social media, or someone else posted on social media that Des Bryant was there. If you are out and you have something to do the next day, don't post it on social media. Just don't ever do that, because people know exactly where you are. They know exactly what you're doing. And just don't be late to work. Des Bryant, I don't know what you were doing at that cookout, but people will not notice if you are slightly hungover. People will not notice if you're not prepared. People will notice if you're late. Just don't be late. Just be present. Come on, Des. You know, Des is definitely pulling Ezekiel to the side and being like, look, you see this guy in the corner? His name is Steve. Steve has been following me around for 2 years now. Do you want your own Steve, Ezekiel? Do you really want your own Steve? You do not want your own Steve, Ezekiel. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
Jalen Jacoby, what's going on, man? This is JD in Seattle. There's been a lot of Derrick Rose slander going on lately, and I'm not too happy about it because I think people must have forgotten that he was the youngest MVP in NBA history. With that being said, what do you view as a more upsetting fall from grace due to injury? Derrick Rose or Penny Hardaway? Anyway, keep giving people what they want, keep getting them checks. Go Navy, feed Army.
My answer to that question is Penny Hardaway. Yep. Because as a 6'7" point guard that jumped like a pogo stick, that had terrific court sense, was a great passer, and had the opportunity to play with Shaquille O'Neal early in his career, I truly felt like he was going to be one of the greatest players of all time.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you there. I also want to give a big shout to JD and the whole city of Seattle. I love Seattle, but I don't love the term fall from grace. You know what I mean? I know you're just like using a term, but like fall from grace, usually you do something intentionally, you make a bad decision, and there's something untoward about how you kind of fell from grace. Like these people just got injured. They did nothing wrong aside from play the sport they love, and it just kind of went bad for them. And I would agree with you that Penny Hardaway is the answer.
I'm glad you went there about terms you don't like, because there are a few sports terms that I hope to retire. Bust, scrub, when somebody's getting traded, get rid of, shipped, to name a few. Stay tuned. We'll get that done on this program.
I agree with all of those, but I would be lying into a microphone if I said that I'm going to stop using the term scrub, because some people are scrubs, man. Some people are scrubs. Some people are scrubs. That's how I feel. Let's listen to another voicemail.
Not if I buy my mother a mansion.
Jalen and Jacoby, Austin from Detroit. Love you guys. I love the new time slot, too. Like getting to see you guys on the way home from work. But here's my question. I was laid off by Mr. Dan Gilbert. I work downtown Detroit, Quicken Loans, and I'm scheduled to come back. Would it be a soft move or a boss move to show up on my first day back in a Chauncey Billups jersey, knowing that Mr. Billups got lowballed and that deal didn't work out? Or a Kyrie Irving jersey, now knowing that he would like to leave? Soft move or boss move, guys? Let me know. Thank you.
Thank you for the call. I appreciate the support.
Shout out.
And I'm able to separate a couple of things. How Dan Gilbert gets criticized, and a lot of times rightfully so, by some of the decisions that have been made, including the letter that was written when LeBron James left. And also I have to defend sometimes when he gets criticized because their roster and their luxury tax bill are as high as any team in the history of the league. So he put his chips in the middle of the table. And lastly, I have to say this. There are not too many people that wave the Detroit flag as high as I do. He's one of them. So I got some advice for you. The answer to your question, soft move. Don't worry about Kyrie, because he's making a maximum contract. Yep. Don't worry about Chauncey Billups. Okay, he's getting paid by ESPN, and if he wants to be in the front office, he'll get that opportunity one day. Yep. You show up at work and behave like somebody that is happy to be there after being laid off, that needs to take care of himself and or his family. Don't allow your fandom to get in the way of you keep getting them checks.
I agree with you, Jalen. You put that very well. I just have one addition. Don't show up to work in a tank top. You know what I mean? Unless you are playing basketball for a living, I don't want to see your armpit hair at work. You know, I understand, but you could subtly maybe put like a Chauncey Billups basketball card somewhere in your cubicle, but I suggest your first day back, maybe like a nice crisp white button-up. Maybe that's just me. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just me. But maybe a crisp button-up shirt would be a better option than your first day back wearing a basketball jersey. But a small basketball card in your cubicle might send the same message. Thanks so much for leaving those voicemails. If you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us more voicemails. And we'll always give exclusive content to our podcast listeners that have been supporting us since day one, before we completely sold out.